now turn to the motion entitled Lloyds Bank, considered by the Council. This can be found on your agenda. I call on Councillor Ashton to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we've saved the best till last. This shouldn't be political. It's not going to take me long. For those who remember the adverts, it does what it says on the tin. And as our Deputy Mayor is fond of saying, a little bit of history. I moved to Hinton 44 years ago, and I'm proud that it still retains its unique village feel. Lloyds Bank has been there for over 44 years and has been a major presence in the village. As Lloyds has closed other banks down around the area, these people have moved to Hinton. As most of us remember and all agree, the banks have been responsible for the major crisis this country still faces itself with. And Lloyds were doing a little bit more for a crisis in Hinton. Lloyds prides itself on being a community bank. In fact, you've all seen its latest advert where the black horse runs along from a child being born over the house. And it tells you that we'll be there by your side, and it won't be after June in Hinton. Lloyds have also given £2 billion back to its shareholders, even though they say they haven't got enough money to pay the lease for the little unit they have in Hinton. As councillors, we have a unique opportunity to fight for our wards on a non-political basis, and I'm hoping tonight that will be the case. As a ward councillor, I tried my best to engage Lloyds in speaking to us. As you've seen by the motion, our MP has written to Lloyds, and the response so far, nothing. Lloyds wrote not to the councillors in Hinton, but wrote to the councillors in Coleridge Ward, which they kindly passed on to us. We've since emailed on several occasions asking for consultations, and we've received no reply. So I come to the council chamber tonight to ask the council to fully support this motion so that Lloyds will, in a sense, come to the table and talk with us. So I ask you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll call on the council to second that. Second disclosure.
Councillor Dryden will be seconded.
Oh, that's okay. You're pleased to second. This phase, as a ward council, I don't mind to second this one. I won't say much more than Councillor Ashton said. There's probably not a lot more to say about that. Only that 44 years Lloyds have been there as a bank, but before that, I remember as a youngster, they had a mobile bank there as well. So it's been there a lot longer than that, probably 50 more years. Someone that doesn't live in the centre of Cambridge, live in Cambridge now, I do know that the villages around Fulham, where I live, which live Democrats actually, we've got the council there, they use the Lloyds Bank because there's no banks around the villages as well. So although it's a city council matter, it's still concerning a lot of our neighbours on the fringes of the city as well. It's one thing I would like to say as well, the Lloyds Bank tells us that we can go 2 miles down to the cattle market branch. Now people in Cherokee, the buses have been cut off the number 3 from the centre of Cherokee, so there's no buses now for elderly people to get there either. So as you know, in the wards, in the college wards and that down that end, it's not easy to park. And then we're talking about the environment. People have got to use cars or to get down there. So I think it's totally wrong closing this branch. I think if you're going to close that branch, you're probably better off closing the one down Cherokee Road. Councillor Cantrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Many people say that the richness of Cambridge is due in many ways to its local communities, be that Newham in the west or indeed Hinton in the east. And access to local shops for residents in these areas are a key feature of the richness of those communities, be those local independent shops or indeed national chains such as Lloyds Bank. And so the closure of Lloyds Bank, in my view, Mr. Mayor, is an illustration of a long-term trend of opposed if possible, because they are the fundamental building blocks of local communities. And another illustration, Mr. Mayor, of that trend is, as members most probably are aware, the proposed NHS cuts to drug funding, 170 million, which will undermine the business model of those small local pharmacies such as Kumar Pharmacy in Hinton or Mrs. Yanks, who's been in Newnham for 30 years. So I welcome this motion, Mr. Mayor. I certainly will be supporting it because I believe the richness of those communities based on the high street activity of shops and organisations like Lloyds. Thank you.
Councillor Catherine Spark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also welcome the motion, and I would comment also it is part of a trend, a very regrettable trend, of the retreat of financial services to the centre of the city. Nothing wrong with having financial services at the centre of the city, I hasten to say, but that it should be only in the centre of the city is actually very disturbing. I mean, there's another example of the trend, and that is the Cambridge Building Society closing branches. The Mill Road branch, which is obviously the one I'm most concerned about, the Chesterton Road branch, and then branches at Milton, Barnwell, Burwell. Can't even be right. Burwell, yeah, and so on. It's all very well for these financial institutions to say, oh, well, so much is done online nowadays, but not everybody wants to go online, not everybody can go online, and there are a lot of people who think that going online for banking is asking for trouble. And when you hear all of the various things, various disasters that happen and the scams that come through, I think there's a lot to be said for keeping your banking on foot, as you might say, in a local branch. But that is not an option which is being allowed to, well, it's increasingly being withdrawn from people who don't have easy access to the centre of the city. And I think this is a very regrettable and a very worrying trend. I do think actually the council is, in a way, in a sort of, in one sense, sort of countering that with the emphasis, the very welcome emphasis on credit unions that we have been running. And I think that, strengthening that, I think, is something that we can do and which we should do. The other thing, of course, is post offices and defending post office. But it is something we really do need to be aware of, and I think we're all concerned about it, because as ever, the people who will suffer from this most are the least mobile and, generally speaking, the poorer and the older people.
Thank you. Councillor Peters.
Yeah, I do support the motion. The Barclays Bank is the Lloyds Bank in Hinton, as well as the Cambridge Building Society. They're a lifeline for Hinton, as well as the south of Queen Edith's ward. On the north of our ward, we have the Coleridge, we have the other bank, but we won't use it and we'll be greatly missed. So we fully support you.
Thank you. Councillor Avery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I certainly will be supporting this motion. I just want to make one observation along the lines of the points previously made. There are some issues that are parallel issues that arise from the closure of City Home South, and I think we need to look at what mitigating measures we are going to take if and when the closure of City Home South proceeds, that are very similar to the types of issues that you have with the closure of a bank like this, such as people wanting to actually go there and pay their rent at that place. So I think it would be useful to understand when the time comes that there are similar mitigation measures that will need to be considered. Thank you.
Councillor Gillespie.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I support this motion completely, and the issue that it brings to mind for me is that the banking sector hasn't really had the interest of the British people at heart for some time, and we need to have something in place for the next stock market crash. The whole stock market is not in good shape. time as seeing using them while they're available. Things like local currencies, more local barter schemes, recycling, local food growing will help to prepare, and it's this council's responsibility to ensure it is ready for any such go-tos.
Councillor Moore.
I think this is rather like King Canute. There's come to hope in hell in the long run. However, I very much support the notion. One of my biggest concerns is that as people get older and more disabled, they can't get to the post offices, they can't get to the banks. It's a physical impossibility for them. And at the same time, of course, the transport system, is buses in particular, being run down. So I think it's a very poor show. However, I will support it very strongly.
Roberts. No. Thank you. Councillor Herbert.
Thank you.
If you don't need to speak, but you are on the list as a speaker. But now I'm going straight back to Councillor Ashton to wind up.
How long have I got?
20
I'm going to say in advance, I thank my colleagues across the chamber, because it looks like this will be unanimous, and I think it needs to be unanimous when the leader and the chief executive write to Lloyds that they see that the council of the city, in a sense, want them to come and talk to the local ward councillors. We're not telling them how to run a business. What we're saying to them is come and talk to us about how you run your business and what can we do maybe in the long term. So I thank you for your support in this motion.
Thank you then. Now we'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour of this motion, please show.
This is indeed unanimous.
This is unanimous. Thank you very much.